Welcome to Ontario East Matters. I'm in studio with Darryl Julott. He is the Director of Economic Development for the City of Peterborough. Darryl, great to have you back in the studio. We want to learn a little bit more about what's happening with the City of Peterborough in economic development, in your role. And I guess one of the things I should ask right out front for our audience is tell us about the City of Peterborough. Where is it? What are its highlights?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Peterborough's, I've come to call it kind of the big little city. We have the urban center, we've got the surrounding rural and the agriculture. We're 90 minutes from Toronto, we're a couple hours from Ottawa, soon to be a little bit shorter with the pending Alto high-speed train, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second. Mm-hmm. But so I think we've kind of got the best of both worlds. We're buoyed by some fairly strong local assets. We've got Trent University, Fleming College. We've got a wonderful hospital here with Peterborough Regional Health. We've got one of the few municipally owned regional airports. So again, we've got some very, very strong pillars in place. And other than that, we're a growing city. We're going through our challenges like everybody, but I think we're in a pretty good place, and we've got some pretty exciting things happening.
You mentioned the distance to the Greater Toronto area, and 401 is 30 minutes down the road, and 407, which is a new highway, relatively new, is another access point to Toronto. What difference has having that four-lane highway access made closer to a community that is in the heart of cottage country?
I think it just helps when you have prospective investors or businesses that are looking to locate. It's another checkbox where we can just say, yes, we have this, and we can provide that as again, essentially a checkbox, something that they can consider when they're looking at Peterborough as a location. Again, depending on the business, proximity to major transit is, either going to be a top factor or just kind of one of a myriad, but it's critical. I have conversations every day where, it's not only are we talking about proximity to the 401 and the 407, it's within Peterborough, how close are we to the 115 even. So I think it starts there and kind of, goes down to the 401 and the 407.
Now tell us about, you mentioned the airport. Tell us about Peterborough's airport. It is unique in Eastern Ontario. Obviously, we've got Toronto and Montreal on either side of this region. Peterborough Airport is, as far as I know, expanding, but tell us about its role in your economic development endeavors.
Yeah, so Peterborough Regional Airport, it's owned by the City of Peterborough. It's the longest, Kyle Bruce is going to kill me if I mess up these stats. It's the longest.
And Kyle Bruce is the airport?
Yeah, sorry, our airport manager at the City of Peterborough. It's the longest runway between Toronto and Ottawa. We're currently undergoing some pretty exciting expansion plans with our taxiway and a few other initiatives, looking at things around CBSA and air traffic control. But we have some incredibly strong businesses located at the airport too. FlexJet, formerly Flying Colors, is one of our marquee businesses here in the city that have been around for a very, very long time and are experiencing even now significant growth. They're buoyed. We've got some of the defense sector, at the airport as well too. ACF Associates, who do a lot of work with Boeing, the Canadian Armed Forces, all of the above. And then, just a number of other, we've got the 4 flying schools with Seneca College as the anchor. So again, very, very strong base there, but still a ton of opportunity. There's still available space. There's still some opportunity for some additional businesses to fill that space.
You mentioned FlexJet, Flying Colors, and people might think, plane, partial owner, private jets, but what actually are they doing in Peterborough with a company like FlexJet? What kind of skilled workers would be working there? Is it pilots, avionics, construction?
Yeah, it's a very skilled labor force. It's very unique in the sense, I think we can agree, from the work that FlexJet does with the interior of the private jets. So the cabinetry, the upholstery, all that type of stuff. And again, they are in the middle of a very exciting initiative right now where they're essentially creating their own pipeline of skilled workforce and labor by launching a training program that they were able to do through some successful skills development funding. So they've been a staple in the community for a very, very long time.
Now, Peterborough is located on the Trent Severn Waterway. My understanding, that was an original communication route for lumber north of the community being brought over and taken over to Europe. It's evolved. It was home for many, many years to General Electric. I believe it was one of the first plants outside of the U.S. What's the legacy of a company like that and spin-off companies? Just even though they've closed down after 125 years, what's the legacy and what skill sets do you see in this community from that long history?
I mean, I think you see it, you hear people refer to us as the electric city, and so I think it goes as far back as that. I think, the company you referenced has been in the news lately. Peterborough has historically been a manufacturing center. We still have a very strong advanced manufacturing base. I think we're diversifying into some of the other key industry areas, nuclear being one, defense being another, aerospace. But, I think it shows that we're still, again, a strong advanced manufacturing base, but it's like the times we're diversifying, we're opening new industries, we're supporting new industries, we're trying to attract new industries. So I think it's recognizing the past and the history and our strengths, but also, trying to attract new as well at the same time.
When you talk about the energy industry and nuclear industry, and of course GE, there still is a component in Peterborough with BWXT, who make fuel bundles for the CANDU reactors. And there is a resurgence in energy and nuclear in Ontario, in Canada, in fact. We've heard recently about the small modular reactors at Darlington, just down the road from Peterborough, Wesleyville. We were talking 45 minutes away. What do you see the advantages will be for you to attract new business to maybe support that industry? Because our provincial government has been investing in that sector for many years. It's proven technology. They've sold it to the world. How will Peterborough benefit from that, and why would a company want to come here to take advantage?
So I think any company that's looking at supporting the supply chain from that perspective, it's, you've got tried and tested players in the space, industry leaders, we'll call it. BWXT is a company that does phenomenal work, and they're experiencing significant growth, not just in the fuel rod nuclear space, but the work that they do in nuclear isotopes as well. So Peterborough is a key partner in the Central Eastern Ontario Isotope Alliance. And so when you look at the things like the Therasphere, that BWXT does in conjunction with Boston Scientific and all that kind of work. So I think there's additional opportunity to grow that side of the business. There's, ways to look at supporting their existing work. I know that they've got some pretty ambitious plans too over the next few years. So I think the possibilities are quite large. I think it's just trying to figure out exactly how we zero in on them and how we support the companies like a BWXT the best that we can.
Now, Peterborough, I understand, has a college and university. That's a huge advantage for any smaller city. What role do they play in helping companies like that? When you talk about research, are they actively involved, and how could they help an expanding company or a new company coming into the city?
Well, so I think the low-hanging fruit is workforce. We're very fortunate that we have Trent University, who's got that local and international recognition. We've got Fleming College, who again has that recognition. Both have, very strong programs. Trent was just named the #1 undergraduate university in Canada. Fleming College has their CAMET, Center for Advanced Manufacturing and Advanced Research kind of prototyping lab. And they do a lot of work with our local businesses already. So I think it's the ability to attract a strong workforce because we have that in Peterborough. It's looking at opportunities for kind of collaborative research projects, which a number of our local businesses are doing now as they look at adopting new technologies, trying to create new infrastructure essentially because they're trying to solve problems that haven't previously been solved. And that's where we're seeing some really cool collaboration. We're seeing companies that are creating an idea essentially out of thin air and, working with, our colleges and our universities and our highly talented students at those institutions to help solve these problems. So I think it's, again, a bit of a melting pot of all of that, just depending on what the local company would be in need of.
The other strengths, we talked about aviation, aerospace, and advanced manufacturing. Food industry, does it play a role in the Peterborough region?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I touched on it kind of in my intro there when talking about the urban center with the rural and the agriculture. Still a very big part of the city. We're one of 3 partners along with Peterborough County and Kawartha Lakes in the Kawartha Farm Fresh program. And so, understanding just different ways there to engage our local producers and just the people affiliated with it. Absolutely a key part of the city as well, too.
The employers here like PepsiCo, Quaker have been here been in Peterborough, from what I understand, for many years. Do you see a future with that type of industry or similar industries? I mean, again, it's a long-standing industry. The world's changing. There might be new opportunities there.
Yeah, short answer, yes. I think, it's the way the world is going right now. Things are changing seemingly minute by minute. So, we could have this conversation 6 months from now and we might have different
We might
thoughts.
have to.
But yes, absolutely. I think, we've got a strong base with businesses that, realize the value of being in Peterborough. They're continuing to grow and invest. And I think when we look at attracting businesses from the same industries and sectors and stuff like that, having kind of that, essentially that proof of concept, I'll call it for lack of a better word, where, you can build this type of business of this size in this city and achieve great success is a bit of a beacon for others to say, hey, this can be done here and it can be done the right way and it can be done easy.
Now, the City of Peterborough has changed the way it does economic development. It's in-house. You're taking it down the new path. What have you got planned, and what do you see that the City of Peterborough is going to be doing to make sure that people are aware of the opportunities here going down the road?
So one of the things that's occupied the last few months and will continue to is a heavy focus on business retention. So working with our existing businesses, helping them navigate, what's going on in the world right now, and just ensuring that they know we're here for them. We're helping them with what they need, whether it's funding, workforce, connections to opportunities, whatever that might be. And then at the same time, kind of balancing, inbound, outbound investment inquiries. Unlocking new opportunities for employment land is a big focus for us now too. Everything from remediating brownfield sites to, looking at ways to maybe parse off pieces of land from, larger parcels, whatever it may be. We're literally flipping over every rock that we can to make sure that we have an available inventory of employment land. But on the broader spectrum, literally this week an RFP went out for our strategic plan for economic development. So we will be doing a formal 5-year economic development strategic plan. That will probably kick off early in January and be a fairly intensive process, rightfully so. And there'll be a ton of engagement, public, private, council, the mayor, everybody will be involved. I'm sure you'll play a part in that as well too, Jay. And that will help define formally kind of the roadmap for the next 5 years.
And your portfolio also would include tourism. I mentioned Peterborough's in cottage country. What's happening with tourism, and is there actually tourism in the city, and how does that benefit the ability to bring new people and investment into the region?
Yeah, so tourism is doesn't directly fall underneath economic development. It's split between strategic corporate communications, and then recreation has an arm of it as well too, the sports tourism side of things. I think, and kind of I'll bucket this answer in a bit of a general sense. One of the big advantages is just the scalability of the internal departments collaborating. So it's whether it's attracting a sport tourism tournament to come to the city, and there's an economic development play, there's recreation play, whether it's, kind of putting together our informal concierge program. It's myself and planning working very closely together. So it's having that ability to just essentially walk down the stairs and have 2-3 departments speak together, that we've really seen the benefit. But from a tourism perspective, we're looking at very unique opportunities. We're trying to double down on what's working. We've seen a lot of success in sports tourism. Peterborough's hosting the TELUS Cup this year, amongst a number of other kind of marquee events.
And TELUS Cup, remind us what that is.
So it's the under-18 hockey championship.
Oh, hockey, of course. Peterborough's a hockey town, yes.
So it'll be hosted here. Don't quote me. I believe it's in April. Yeah. But a very, very large tournament. And again, we have a number of other sport tourism-related initiatives coming down the pipeline. And continuing to work with just our local stakeholders generally from a tourism and comms perspective. And we are undergoing a tourism strategic plan, which is almost complete, but it's underway right now. So lots of
planning for the future. And one of the long-term commitments that Peterborough's had has been partnering with the Ontario East Economic Development Commission. What value do you see with the 30 seconds we have left working with the Ontario East group?
No pressure. It's been a few things. I think being able to collaborate with colleagues and just informally have conversations, just be in rooms where we can just share ideas and ask questions and problem solve together. It's sometimes it can be a bit isolating. We all play the same sport, and I think having kind of, teammates across the province that we can rely on, I'll call it, has been a big benefit of it. I think, the broader ecosystem of what we accomplish as an Ontario East group, whether it be the trade shows that we attend together or the broader initiatives, and things like the manufacturing report, shameless plug there for the report that you put out with NGen. I think things like this just benefit all of us as a community, and I thank you for that because it was a great report.
Well, we thank you for being part of it. Wish you all the best. And talking about collaboration, regionality, we're all in it together and working to support your communities and the communities within Eastern Ontario. Yeah. Darryl, Julott, I want to wish you well, and thank you for joining us here on Ontario East Matters.
Thanks, Jay. My pleasure.
All right. Thank you. See you next time.